You know what, though? Let's welcome on the GOAT. All right. And by the way, as always, this is sponsored by BetUS. John Maakaron joining the program. Let's see what he thinks of my selfishness. And, of course, the Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys game and a Tigers win. Lots to talk with John about. Welcome, the publisher of Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated and the host of the Detroit Sports Podcast, which you can check out. Man, has not missed an episode in probably 600 episodes. Mr. John Maakaron. John, how you doing, my man?
What's up, fellas? I think I'm on the right show. When I was at Michigan State, I was known as the Italian Stallion. Having fun with the Italian sausage and doing my thing. You know what I mean? So it was a good time, baby. I was Italian. And whatever it took, man. You guys are having a good time. It's a good time in Detroit. Everyone's smiling. So everyone wants to know. I spiced some Arnold Palmer before I came on. So it's the greatest thing ever. Arnold Palmer with a little bit of vodka. We handle business. And then the chat. Thank you, Derek. No doubt about it. I am just like everybody out there. I handle social media and at Detroit Podcast is run by me. And I will always answer any questions from anybody. And I appreciate it. And it's been crazy this year covering the Lions, going to Ford Field every week. Someone's giving me a fist bump, yelling out my name, and it still shocks me that people will call out my name, and it's all been favorable in person. So the chat can hate, but in real life, you guys have been great. And anytime, if there's a question you ever want to ask in a media session through these guys or in the chat, or type in and follow me on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, all Lions all the time. And it's a good time in Detroit, especially with the Tigers win. Everyone's vibing really good. Downtown has been great. Everyone's having a good old time.
I interrupted today's video to tell you that this video is sponsored by BetUS. So this is what I'm going to do. On BetUS currently, right now, the Lions are plus 165 to win the NFC North. Yes, to me, that is free money. At your own caution, please gamble responsibly. But if you go on BetUS, you could see it, plus 165. I'm going to go ahead and throw $50 on this to win $82. Go ahead and have my money, make myself more money, because I'll tell you guys what, after the Lions win this week, that'll decrease, and the Lions will be more of a favorite. Maybe they don't jump to 1, but they will eventually down the line. So get in on it early, betus.com. Get your bets in, and it doesn't matter if it's NFL or any sports league. BetUS has it. So please remember to gamble responsibly. Don't bet anything you're not willing to lose. But the Lions, I will tell you this, they're coming for that NFC North. And right now at plus money, come on. You kidding me? Let's get back to the video. Well, John, on Sunday, Lions get a rematch after a kind of a disrespectful, refs just kind of being like, hey, here you go, Cowboys. You can have this one. What do you make of the rematch and just the Cowboys? And they just get a big win over the Steelers, a clutch fourth down play. What do you make of the Cowboys this year? They don't have a run game, and now matching up with the Lions team who, have some pressure on them in terms of the NFC. But what do you make of the matchup? Early thoughts?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going. Wish me luck. Friday evening, I will be flying out to Dallas. Saturday is a fun afternoon. I'm going to a local downtown pub to watch Texas and Oklahoma, I think. And then 7 o'clock, there's a Lions tailgate with supporters. A throng of Detroit Lions fans are going to be down there. So I will be there.
You'll be with the people?
I'll be with the people. And I'm going to Jerry's World on Sunday. Saturday night, he's going to hang with the fans. Just going to have a good time in Dallas. My first time. I want to experience it all, have a good time, and watch this contest. So with DSP and Sports Illustrated in the house, now the tide can turn for the Detroit Lions. And hopefully, Christian was cool to research and look. I did tell him, like, hey, make sure we pay attention to who's officiating. It's always going to be interesting. And the officiating crew has thrown the second fewest flags. So maybe the opportunity for the Lions to play will be, because if the officials throw flags and give up and force the Lions into, pass interference calls that give the Cowboys 30-yard penalties and all that kind of stuff, that's going to make it tough. I think the Lions are going to go toe-to-toe with the Cowboys, and the revenge factor is going to be there. Dan Campbell does not like going to Texas repeatedly and lose. So this one could get out of hand. I think that with the depleted Cowboys defense with Micah Parsons potentially being out. I know that they activated Bland starting his window, but look, I think the Lions can handle business. And this is a game in which the Lions are going into it healthy. The offense is running a little bit better. My early thoughts are revenge equals a beatdown in Texas, and that's what I want to see. Get this game rolling early. Running backs, Gibbs, Montgomery, explosives, embarrass the Cowboys at Jerry's World, and let's go. I just think 4-1, knowing that they got a matchup with the Vikings around the corner. Let's go out there and dominate. Let's go dominate the biggest frauds in the NFL, which is the Cowboys.
Hey, Doc, you're speaking my language. What you just said there, though, you had mentioned the injuries and all of that. I saw today. It looks like outside of the guys on IR, like Derek Barnes and Marcus Davenport, but the guys that are actually on and healthy on the roster, it looked like today there are no more injuries, essentially. Everyone's full of practice. Everyone's good to go. And it felt like a little bit the bye week came at a good time. With that being said, defensively, we saw last week guys like Brian Branch out. Ansel was going through some stuff the week before. What are your thoughts on this Detroit Lions defense and AG? Just kind of they had a rough week versus Seahawks, and we know what that kind of challenge has presented in the last few years. But the first couple of weeks they were decent. They were holding teams under 20, like 20 or less. And then this last week was kind of an outlier. Do you think they get back on track here, or what are your thoughts with this defense? Because that seems to have been the conversation after this Seahawks game in the bye week has been this Detroit Lions defense.
Yeah, the Seahawks game kind of put everybody on alert because for whatever reason, Aaron Glenn just can't stop and limit the Seattle offense. And it's been consistent, but look, this is the secret. If you want to get in a game that's going to be high scoring, you just got to get a couple turnovers. And you look at Kirby Joseph, he's a ball hawk. The key to this kind of game is who's going to have the extra possessions, who's going to blink first. I think the Cowboys are going to blink first. I think that clearly based on the way that the Cowboys offense is running, you're going to go through CeeDee Lamb. You're not going to run the ball as effectively. The Lions clearly have a strength there. So I think the Cowboys are going into this one-dimensional. So Dak Prescott is going to be a target for Aiden Hutchinson and for Josh Pascal to do some things. And I just think that Ali McNeil and DJ Reader are going to clog the middle. The defense will rebound. I think that there's going to be opportunities for them. Look, they're going to give up explosive plays. CeeDee Lamb is going to do some magical things. There's going to be some things that they're able to do in the middle. But what makes Aaron Glenn's defense adaptable is once it gets into the red zone, I think the Lions will clamp down and execute at a high level. And with Brian Branch and Joseph back together, the back end is secure. You're looking at better man-to-man coverage. I think Tyrion Arnold's going to want to be looking to rebound and things like that. Carlton Davis also. And I know the biggest concern to me defensively is how the team over the course of time is going to look without Derek Barnes. It's looking like, and based on what Dan Campbell said, it's going to be a season-long injury. How does Trevor Nowatzki look? How does Malcolm Rodriguez fill in? And how does Jack Campbell, who's going to be asked to step up, how do they get back to it? But this defense, to me, opportunistic, violent, aggressive, it should have the confidence that, hey, there's going to be games that end up going that way. But I think that on the road, that there's going to be probably the yardage will be elevated, but the points will be down. And just get a couple of those turnovers. Carlton Davis probably, you know what, an unsung hero in this defense? I think this game, Amik Robertson is the guy that gets the interception key and does some things because he's a perfect example of a gritty guy. He has, sometimes his aggression gets taken advantage of, but in certain moments when you need him, boom, he can make the play. And I think it's time for him to get his welcome to Detroit moment. And especially when he was flashing if you guys saw the Lions television show on Fox 2, they showed it. I wrote on it earlier when I saw it, wearing the nice Deion Sanders Sports Illustrated shirt. And the man is a gritty, hard-working individual, and it's time for him to get some flowers. Hopefully he gets to make some plays because he's definitely – it was fun after the Seahawks game to be in the locker room and to see him be relieved and to talk about, hey, I asked him, like, what's it like to be on a winning team? You played for the Raiders. He got he laughed because he understood the connotation of, yeah, I came from a place that sucked, and now I'm on a winning team. You could just see the joy in his face for playing for a winning team. And that's just the way it is now in Detroit.
And Doc, staying with the defense, but flipping to who they're going to be matching up with. Who do you think on Dallas, outside of CeeDee Lamb, because you could argue he's the best wide receiver in the NFL currently, Who do you think outside of CD that this Detroit Lions defense needs a limit so that Dallas offensively cannot kind of stay in this game, keeping it close?
Yeah, I think that you just saw it, and I think Jeff mentioned it. Dak Prescott is somebody that, with the contract that he's got, look, I would say it's not warranted. I think that he took advantage of a market that's going crazy for quarterbacks, but the man can, at certain times, it's one of those wild situations in which he's just athletic enough, just got the good enough arm and accuracy that he can cause some damage and he can maneuver the game in a good way. And at times, though, he can also make the critical mistake. And that's why the Cowboy fans have a love-hate relationship with him, in that he's somebody that takes risks, but also at the same time can extend plays and be a difficult situation. So, people look at Tolbert and things like that, not terribly concerned. Elliott going back there was hilarious. But to me, I'm not terribly concerned really too much about what the Cowboys are going to bring to this. It's just really, to me, this is one of those games where if the Lions execute, they don't make mistakes, they don't beat themselves, the officials let them play a little bit. This game is one of those games where the Lions, I think, can win by 7 to 10 points and be pretty much ahead comfortably, because of the fact that the Cowboys are dealing with a myriad of injuries at the worst possible time.
Yeah, and Doc, this was a topic that we kind of had earlier on in the week. Obviously, with the Vikings having so much success, if it were to end today and the Lions weren't to win the division, would you view that as a disappointment?
Yeah, no, I look at it from the perspective of, now, with an early bye week, you're in the grind. And so I think I've spoken with you guys about this. The mission now should be number 1 seed. Get all the games at Ford Field. As many playoff games in that environment. You thought Comerica's wild. That you guys asked me last week what it was like on Monday Night Football. And maybe I downplayed it a little bit, but the playoff atmosphere was some of the wildest, loudest, craziest stuff I've ever seen in regards to the passion level, the energy, 90 minutes to 2 hours before the game. Unparalleled. I do not see anybody, not the Niners, not the Eagles, not anybody from the NFC coming into Ford Field and winning a playoff game. And can you imagine the celebration of the Lions clinching the NFC to get to the Super Bowl at Ford Field? I mean, I'll call it now. Jeff, Booner, you guys lead the charge to rush the field. See what happens. 60,000 people get on that field and celebrate.
We're taking down the field goal post, Doc, at Ford Field. We're going out of the tunnel, and we're going to the Detroit River.
Might block the field goal, the not letting the goalpost go down, but it would be an amazing experience to have it. But look, man, the Vikings are for real. Everyone's talking about it with Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell and the run game and Justin Jefferson and the gritty and all that good stuff. Look, I think the Lions and the Vikings are the class of the division. They're going to be slobber knocker games, and those kind of games will be who executes best in the fourth quarter. I don't see it. I just see the Lions getting better. Like, that game against the Seahawks was one check mark off the list of beating a team you had struggled against. Now you go to the Cowboys, and now, like, clearly after a bye week, you look at this portion of the schedule. This team is going to be focused. They're going to be ready, and they understand, look, we got to grind. But if we can be on the right side of the win column, then we get a week off. If you can be the number 1 seed, I think the goal should be number 1 seed, win as many games as humanly possible, shut up all the haters, and let's go. Let's have all roads lead to Detroit to get to the Super Bowl.
Sounds like the Booner path to me. That's exactly what the Booner path is.
Yeah.
I love that, Doc. Me and you, much as people think we argue, we're lockstep as much as we can be.
Well, Doc, another thing that happened this week, and I love your thoughts on it. Robert Saleh fired, but it's not just the Robert Saleh conversation. It's revisiting the 2021 period in which Robert Saleh was a legitimate candidate to become the next Lions head coach. And, of course, Chris Spielman and his philosophy ended up working out for the better for the organization. And, of course, Sheila. And now you have Brad and Dan. It's worked out great. And you have the Jets looking for their next head coach. Can you kind of talk about how the Lions got it right, but also kind of address I've heard a couple of the Saleh to become the next DC, some of those theories. Where are you at on both those convos, Doc? Lions getting it right and Robert Saleh to be the next DC.
All right. Listen, this one might set off the chat, the fireworks.
Oh, here we go.
Listen, I got to be
This is what we
accountable.
love. This is what we love.
I got to be accountable. Okay. I'll be accountable. First and foremost, I have to state publicly, I am biased. Okay. Because I am Lebanese. Okay. So I would have loved at the time back then when I'm a third-year NFL reporter looking for any angles to get access, I would have loved to have the first Lebanese head coach be in Detroit with the Lebanese reporter covering the team. I would have definitely had access. I would have had him on a podcast. I would have had hummus with Robert. It would have been great. So I was clearly biased. I thought that he would be successful as a head coach with the Jets and in Detroit. Now, Dan Campbell, clearly the better candidate, clearly more experienced, more able to handle an entire room. The work that he did with Sean Payton clearly established his ability to run a situation. And he had experience. Those 12 games with the Dolphins as an interim gave him the experience, and as a former player, being at the NFL level just gave him a clear advantage. And it's probably the greatest thing to happen to the Lions that Saleh didn't get it, because it probably would have ended up this way, where his first job would have struggled. But I do think in the future, Robert Saleh is going to be successful like Todd Bowles, like Bill Belichick, where the second opportunity, when you learn from the mistakes, you learn that, hey, when you're in a situation, you got to take over the whole team, not just one side of the ball. And once LaFleur was let go and you went with the direction of Hackett and Rodgers, it sealed his fate. And that was just way too much smoke to let in. I think that he made a big mistake letting that happen. You should have worked with your general manager in lockstep to get a young quarterback to develop. Zach Wilson was a disaster. And that's a situation in which, Jeff, you posted something that I just thought was something that's unrealistic to decide, in that, you know what? If Brad Holmes and Robert Saleh would have established, like, hey, I need these kind of defenders, I need these kind of players, there would have been a chance for success. Maybe not, ultimate Super Bowl success. Maybe there's a chance that it's going to be up and down, a first-year inexperienced coach. But I do think there was a little bit more room to discuss Saleh having success in Detroit when you give him talent at the level of evaluation that Brad Holmes is doing. I just think that it would have been something different. And clearly, Saleh is a solid top 5 defensive coordinator. I mean, his defense literally gave up less than 20 points to the Vikings that everybody's praising. His defense was legit. He's a master at defense. Unfortunately, he can't run a whole organization. But and the way I've been kind of talking about it when people ask me is, don't want to wish ill will to Aaron Glenn. I think he's going to be great, and I think he's going to be coveted. So if and only if Aaron Glenn takes a head coaching opportunity, I think Robert Saleh coming here would make this defense top 3 in the NFL. Be aggressive. Aiden Hutchinson would clearly have 15 to 20 sacks. I have no doubt about it. You'd have no doubt about it, the other side of the football be locked down. You just saw they're very similar. Aaron Glenn and Robert Saleh are very similar. They're aggressive. And I just think that people did take victory laps on Saleh, saying that Dan Campbell was the better hire. I just think that more people maybe should open their mind to the fact that defense does win championships. And maybe with Saleh last year, maybe the 49ers don't come back because he's got the motivation. He knows all the secrets. So it would have been interesting if Saleh was here. We can't say what would have happened. We don't know. We can speculate. The odds are, it might not have turned out well, but I just thought it was unfortunate. Look, people are wrong in that people say, well, he wore the flag, and that had nothing to do with it.
No.
What led to his demise was the fact that there were Super Bowl expectations and the team looked listless. They go overseas and they looked slow. They looked like they weren't into it. And clearly the message had gotten stale over 4 years. And that's just the way sports in the NFL is. But when he comes back, I think I should just, if I advised him, take this year off, take next year off, sit back, wait for an opportunity to go to a defense like the Cowboys, the Lions, a team that's waiting for you to run it. Maybe go back to the 49ers, Houston, do your thing, go to a winning situation. Everybody's going to respect you. He's going to have the pick of the litter. And this opportunity in New York is going to, teach Saleh a lot of things. And trust me, if I know from how I am versus how he is, you just lit a fire under a guy that is going to come back and destroy the NFL.
Yeah.
Real quick, Doc, and I want to explain my side on that, because everything you said in terms of him as a human and as a defensive coordinator, you're absolutely correct. I think some coaches in the NFL are better suited as defensive coordinators, and I think Saleh could work as a head coach. I just think New York was a terrible market for him. I mean, he's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. My thing with it, Doc, and I think it's where the future of the league is right now, is even if you're a defensive coordinator and you have the defense figured out, if you don't have that offense buzzing, you're going to get fired. Like D'Amico with Bobby Slowick, like no one says anything about D'Amico because the defense is good and their offense is figured out because they have a great OC. But I think Saleh, even before Nathaniel Hackett, not having a quarterback, not figuring out the offense, like that defense, you're right, has been elite. They just if you can't figure out the offense in today's NFL, you're done. And I do that's where I brought in Dan Campbell, because I think he fits the modern day NFL. I think he's smarter than people give him credit for, and him being more of an offensive coach, I think will better suit him keeping a job long term. That was my point with it. I don't know, and I don't love defensive coordinators as head coaches unless they know how to figure out, okay, who's the best OC available and how can we make this thing work? And you need a quarterback, obviously. That helps. But that's where I'm at.
And
I'm a big offensive coach.
And look, for people that are like, oh my God, how could you say the Lions would have success? What's the key to success in the NFL? You got to have a good quarterback. You don't think that if Jared Goff, if things were the same roster, Jared Goff, Ben Johnson, because remember, Dan Campbell didn't hire Ben Johnson. He was already here. So would Saleh have done that? Probably, maybe not. He might have definitely wanted to give LaFleur an opportunity. Maybe Brad Holmes would have let LaFleur stay longer. But I think when you have Zach Wilson, that's an epic mistake. Joe Douglas did Robert Saleh dirty with scouting and bringing in a guy that clearly was overrated. And then you bring in, I mean, it's overhyped Aaron Rodgers, who's older. And I think that they believe that, once Aaron Rodgers went down last year, that probably sealed the fate of Robert Saleh. But to me, and remember too, I'm not just, like I said, I did say I'm biased. I did say I would have an affinity for somebody that I could probably relate to in their thinking and their family and how they get down and all that kind of stuff, work ethic and grind and motivation. At the same token, to me, defense wins championships. That's been my philosophy. And Robert Saleh's defenses were legit. They were violent. They were Quinnen Williams was unbelievable at times. And you looked at it, they developed Sauce Gardner. Now, of course, he's going to have his struggles here and there. But I just thought that Saleh would have brought a defense that would have been respectable here in Detroit, maybe a little bit faster. Maybe that would have been the ceiling. Maybe they would have lost those playoff games. Maybe they wouldn't have won those opportunities. Like I said, I'm biased. I was going with the idea that Saleh would have brought a defense here that would have changed the culture in the same vein. But again, you got to have a good offense and you got to have a quarterback. And that's what all these teams that struggle and they go through coaches. And to me, I'll say this, was really 5 games enough to judge Robert Saleh with Aaron Rodgers? 5 whole games. It took Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown 10 games and an offensive coordinator who ran the ball in Anthony Lynn before they said, hey, wait a minute, Amon-Ra can catch the ball. Remember the first game that he broke out was the touchdown catch that he had the first win in the Dan Campbell era. 10 games. I think the Jets might have pulled the trigger too soon, but that schedule, I don't even know if Saleh would have survived. You look at their schedule upcoming.
Yeah.
They got 5 losses staring them right in the face. And to be honest, now that he's gone, he can sit back. Good for him. He's going to cash checks on the Jets' dime. Now the NFL world will realize Woody Johnson is a terrible owner and runs a terrible organization, and Aaron Rodgers is going to get cooked for being an overrated quarterback. So it's going to be all good to see the Jets' demise. Sitting here as a Lions supporter.
Go ahead, Boone.
Yeah, well, Doc, I do want to just kind of follow up, and then I do have a question. But I'm kind of with you on this, Doc. I mentioned it yesterday on the show. We had the conversation. It's just like when you're with Robert Saleh there in New York, when everything for 4 years has gone the way it has, whether you have the quarterback or the players or not, like someone has to take the fall. And it typically, and Doc, you've been in the business a while, it's typically the guy at the top when it comes down to it. And that was kind of what happened with Robert Saleh. The only thing I didn't like with the whole situation over the last few days, especially with Lions fans, is Lions fans acting like he's not a good defensive coordinator, because there is a big difference. I mentioned it yesterday, like the difference between being the head coach and being a DC is night and day difference. The responsibilities, everything that goes with it is so different. And Robert Saleh is one of the best in the league as a defense coordinator. He could get any position he wants, maybe outside of, the Spags job or things like that. Like, he is up there with the best. So I'm with you on that, Doc. Like, and this comes to my question then. What I had mentioned yesterday was, if there's an opportunity, and I know you already said you would take him, but what are you seeing with the situation? This conversation is going to have to come up at some point. I know we're in week 5. I'm learning how to become a journalist over here. Not really, but I have try to act like I can. The conversation with Ben Johnson leaving for a head coaching job and AG potentially. I know it's week 5, but this is going to come up at some point. Where are you at with that? Do you think AG ends up getting a spot? Do you think Ben leaves this year? And then if so, Robert Saleh fills in, or then who's on offensively, or who are you, Tanner Engstrand? That's kind of the guy that Jeff brought up, and we spoke about it in training camp. What does this conversation come up for you, and have you thought about this at all, even though we're in week 5 or week 6?
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's all predicated on what's going to happen in the postseason. I do think the defense is going to steadily get better. I do like what Aaron Glenn does. I think right now, as we talk, he's not viewed, I don't think, as a head coaching candidate. But that narrative can shift super fast with a great playoff run. And clearly, if the Lions win the Super Bowl, they're both gone. I think Aaron Glenn might, if the Jets completely tank, which I think is going to happen, he could go to the Jets. I think that you could stick with a defensive guy that has history playing for them. Maybe the Jaguars are a fit for Aaron Glenn. But at the same token, I think right now the NFL world views clearly that Ben Johnson's ready. Like, it's just, he's waiting for the pick of the litter. Maybe the Dallas job, maybe the 49ers job, if Kyle Shanahan continues to struggle and doesn't handle business. Ben Johnson's more on the made side of things, because he took an offense and said, hey, we built an offense around Jared Goff and did some things that look pretty much like a successful offense would look. Nice offensive line, veteran quarterback in the pocket, wide receivers running free, running game that's elite. So I think people recognize, you look at just from when the players talk about how he schemes up routes, the route tree is so expansive, the way in which he recalls previous plays to take advantage of tendencies that have beat teams. It's just on a great elite level. He's a great offensive mind. But to me, Ben Johnson's not ready yet either, in that he's also of the variety of yelling and getting, rubbing the players the wrong way. He ain't a nice guy to these players at times. And I think he needs to learn that fine balance of running a team at the same time, but also managing the players in a nice way. Because if things go south quickly, I mean, you got to get that right spot. You get a young quarterback and they're making mistakes. Ben Johnson don't deal with that too well. He's somebody that's going to light someone on fire. And that's good. The players are coached hard on offense, and it's a good sign. I just think Ben Johnson's in the best spot because he's learning from Dan Campbell. He's learning what works with the players. And I think that it's not a 100% guarantee he leaves, but if there's an opening, because look, he clearly now sees what happened with the Jets. He said it publicly. I don't want to be fired in 3 years. I want to go somewhere, build an establishment that, has a structure in place and has a solid foundation to give yourself a chance, because you get into one of these sloppy situations, which the general manager could get dismissed fast. Your coaching tenure, no matter how good you are. Look, Bill Belichick got fired before he became Bill Belichick with the Patriots. So he's going to have the pick of the litter, and he's smart, and he's still less than 40 years old. He's still younger than 40 years old. So what a great internship and apprenticeship he's got working with Dan Campbell and the mind that Dan Campbell is underrated in terms of his offensive mind, the knowledge that he's got from Parcells and Sean Payton. He's just getting a world-class education. And then Ben Johnson's talented in and of himself, and working against Aaron Glenn has helped him in terms of having aggression and having battles with the way in which Aaron Glenn has his defense running against this offense. That's why this Lions team has gotten so good. Their practice, I just wish, if there was one wish, I wish I could sit through a NFL practice during the season like they had on Tuesday, one-on-ones, physical, full practice before a day off. They don't let us see that. You can see training camp practices. We see the stretching during the regular season, and then that's it. So I would love to see how Dan Campbell gets down and runs a practice, because Terry Arnold was going up against the receivers one-on-one. Dan Campbell talked about it. This is how he's going to develop. I would love to sit in for 2 hours, watch a practice, and see how these guys compete. Aiden Hutchinson, mano-a-mano versus Penei Sewell. Terry Arnold versus Amon-Ra. Carlton Davis versus Jameson. Oh, man, it'd be great to see. And, the Lions got it good. We should be very thankful that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are running the two units. Makes Dan Campbell's job easier. He can sleep good at night.
Doc, we just talked about the coordinator, but kind of go to the positional coaches now. You're down there in Allen Park in training camp, so you really got a good look at what they were doing before the season. Now that the season started, which positional coach do you think has impressed you the most with the product that they put on the field for the team?
Yeah, I think at the top of the hierarchy is Hank Fraley. You got to love what he does. Frank Ragnow, partially torn pectoral. You slide Graham Glasgow right in at center. Offense is still rolling. Coyote Awosika runs in at left guard. You handle business. I think that Hank Fraley does a good job. And here's the other thing. The Lions have darn good coaches all over the place. Clearly Hank Fraley is the most, I think, accomplished, but the guys right behind him are not too far behind. I think Calvin Shepard, the linebackers coach, is a defensive coordinator in waiting, maybe even the successor. A lot of people debate me and say they won't go to Saleh, they'll stay in-house. That's how the Lions like to operate. Terrell Williams, I think, is great. An upgrade on what they had last year. I think that Deshae Townsend doing his thing, working with the safeties. Duker, he moved on, but the safeties coach that's there now is doing a lot of good things as well. We spoke to the defensive assistant, Jim O'Neill, recently. So I look at it from the perspective of lots of good assistants. And the one, that sticks out when we talk to him is Scotty Montgomery. Like, that guy looks like a head coach. Like, the way in which he's composed, he's measured, he's not blowing smoke for these running backs. He said it to us on Tuesday. He told us directly, he said, we aren't there yet as a running backs unit. We can do more and we can be more explosive. We see the potential. And so that's what I like in their coaches, is that they recognize the talent, but at the same token, Scotty Montgomery has been given additional responsibilities as the assistant coach, and he's doing a lot of great work to be able to help Vaki, Craig Reynolds, Jamar Jefferson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery get to the next level. And Scotty Montgomery is somebody that I respect quite a bit, and he's measured, composed, and gives direct answers, which you always like and respect. So I just love the coaches. I love what's going on with everything going on there. Even when they don't give answers, it's okay. They even when they're a little bit confrontational at times after a loss, the guys there they understand ball. These guys are well coached. They're coached very hard, and you can look. The Lions are a well-coached team, guys. This is crazy to see, right? The Lions are 3-1 right now, playing B- football. They had injuries. They won the game. They had situations that didn't go their way. They won the game. You remember just 5 years ago, if they would have lost Branch and Ragnow a couple years ago, that was a loss. Now it's a win. Now we're talking X's and O's and where they're at. It's because it's a well-coached football team with the right mix of talent. It's crazy.
Yeah, and Doc, Tim Patrick, we've kind of seen him get more and more involved every week. Just speak on his growth, and should we expect to kind of see more of him moving forward? Obviously, his and Goff's connection kind of seems to be growing a little bit there. Should we be able to see more of Tim Patrick moving forward?
Yeah, those are great catches he made, right? He looked proficient. Use him in the offense. He's getting a little bit more comfortable. That's a great question to ask. I think Tim Patrick is gaining the respect of everybody involved. I think that, it's always one of those things where if you're looking to the fourth guy, maybe you involve him in a couple of primary routes and things like that. But look, for what it is, you need a reliable person on third down, guy that can extend the chains a little bit, that can extend the defense to kind of take away the box so that Jahmyr and Montgomery can cook. I like what Tim Patrick does. I think he's a pro. I think that he's sure-handed. That's his calling card. I like what he brings to the table. I think he kind of fits what the Lions are all about. I see him doing a little bit more and making more of an impact with each week as he learns the playbook and learns the offense. And guys, too, Ben Johnson's offense is intricate. Like, there's a lot of secondary reads. There's a lot of things that the receivers got to pay attention to make sure the timing is right, and also to adjust and the communication with Goff. So each week that Tim Patrick is in this system, he's going to get better and better and better. And then with Laporta getting healthier, with everything going on, it's just another weapon for this offense. I think this offense, people have question marks, but I think they'll start to answer them in a positive way moving forward. Points galore. They're going to start moving the football. Third down will look a little bit better. Red zone execution will look a little bit better. And you'll start to see, because I think the biggest thing that disappointed me in the first half was the offense wasn't as dominant as I think people thought it would be. And Patrick will help. Patrick will help this offense become dominant.
Doc, another thing here. I do want to ask. I'll read some of the chats here. One thing I do want to ask though, Frank Ragnow, can you give an update? I know he was full practice. Do you think that I saw the comment actually of Frank going up to Dan or whatever it was and pushing him up against the wall? I don't know how real that was of the story that Dan had mentioned. What are your thoughts on Frank? Do you think it's like, yeah, let's get him going on Sunday, or say, hey, Frank, I know you're probably feeling good, but you should take another week and just get healed up. We'll win again without you. What's going on with this Frank situation?
Dude's a warrior. He doesn't want to sit. He ain't going to sit. I think he comes back this week. I think it's always going to be about pain management. The bye week helped. I think that if he's practicing, it showcases that the injury was to a degree that they feel is manageable. The man is crazy. The man is legit crazy. Dan Campbell clearly has a guy that embodies grit. The man is legit crazy. I don't know how you play a whole game with a partially torn pectoral muscle, all the injuries to his foot and things that he's been battling with to get on the field, all the management and training that he does. This is a guy we got to revere even more than we are. Credit to Frank Ragnow for the work that he does and the things that he brings to this team as the center of this football team. He embodies everything. I hope to see him out there. Quiet leader, does his job, but man, it's crazy. I mean, you literally have to, and Dan Campbell said we had to put him down to just not, in a metaphorical sense, like, hey, we have to just say, you're not playing this week, done, and handle business. If he's practicing, we'll know more. What today was an off day, and they'll get back out there on Thursday. If you see him practicing Thursday, there's no doubt about it. He'll be out there. All grit, Frank Ragnow, man. Whew. And it's great. It's great that Graham Glasgow has the same level of execution, not that much of a drop off when he's gone. So that's just really spectacular depth when you can have the Swiss Army knife and Graham Glasgow play everywhere, man. It's nice to see.
Well, Doc, before we get you out of here, and I know I don't want to give it away because you might write about it. So, but your final score prediction, you want to give that out or you want to wait?
Yeah, no, I don't mind at all.
Okay. I know you guys write your articles, but what do you think, Doc? How do you see it going?
Listen, it's a great article. Check it out. I always invite everybody, please visit Lions on SI. We're covering it fully. We're in gear. We're in rhythm. A lot of content. I do want to, not bully pulpit. The league kind of popped my balloon. I feel like the NFLPA saying the interview should take place out of the locker room. Clearly, I'm not going to be happy with that. I don't like my colleagues being called meat riders.
Oh.
That's not what's happening. It's the Lions locker room is of the utmost professional. I do understand the reason that, hey, if 20 people are there and the guy next to you can't get to his locker, I get it. But I just hope that, as the policy evolves, that all the players can get just move out of the locker room, have the same environment, but just not in the locker room. Because look what happened. And literally it was wild. The first media session that they did that, less players talked. 3-4 players talked. That was it. And so that doesn't bode well for you guys to know what's going on, to have information that way. So I hope that once the Lions clear it up, and I respect it, I understand it. If I'm in my towel and I'm up there, I don't want John Maakaron asking me questions about things when I'm wearing my towel. But I've been respectful and never done that, and always waited for the players. We only have a certain amount of time and so many stories you want to kind of tell. And I've always been respectful if they're on their phone, if they're in their towels. Never. I don't think you've ever seen me post a video of these guys in their towels. So I hope that I understand the concept of privacy in the locker room. I just hope that we have the same open status to be able to just walk around and talk to players, because that's how you get good stories. That's how you build relationships with the players. That's how you learn to be able to tell a story accurately. So I hope that the situation changes. But again, the players inadvertently, and we're never going to win, but inadvertently, when they do that, they start throwing daggers at the media. And then it's just a cavalcade of, you're a meat rider. Why do you go in the locker room? Well, why do you do this and all that? It's like, okay, listen, my job is to bring you guys information and you guys read it. So you read those stories that involve what the players say. And I enjoy bringing it to the people that like those kind of stories. So I hope that there's a healthy medium, and we'll see how it progresses. I'll bring you updates. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it is a little bit weird now. You know, it's like one-on-one, going out, leaving the room, back and forth. It's a little different. I liked it before. I liked it the way it was, but I have to respect what the players say, but I just don't like when you pit the fans against the media. It's a bad thing. It's just always going to be a bad thing. But clearly, I think everybody at Lions on SI is going to pick the Lions over the Cowboys. It's a big week. Revenge, the bye week helps the Lions. I'm thinking 30-23. Lions win. Get out there, hold on, play well. Touchdowns to St. Brown, JMO. I think the run game is going to take off. I'm thinking, Dan Campbell said that Jahmyr Gibbs is this close. Maybe a nice 40-yard plus run for him to put the Lions in position. I think that there's a lot of good things going on with this Lions team. It's a good week. I'm very happy. I'm very happy to talk Lions football. It's a good spot. And number one thing is I just want to travel safely to and from Dallas and be able to report back next week what that was like to you guys. And with DSP and Lions on SI in Jerry's world, we're going to have a good time. Make sure you visit at Detroit Podcast. I'm going to go wall to wall with the coverage day and night. And I look forward to seeing how it shakes out. But I think it's going to be a Lions win.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Again at the end. Look at that.
We got you, Doc?
Yeah, we're back,
Wait.
I think. Oh, no?
Oh, wait. I think he's here.
Again at the end. I'm here. I'm here, right? Again at the
we
end,
didn't
it
get
boots
your
me out.
score.
It's weird. It's the hour limit. The hour limit boots me out.
What's
Says,
up?
get
What's
out
your score?
after an hour.
We do put a clock on there, 60 minutes, and then as soon as that's on the
Doc,
internet, we cut it off. For
Right
you.
before the score prediction, you went out. Did you say it? What was your score prediction?
Okay, I said Lions 30, Cowboys 23. I think the Lions play a high level. Good news. I'm looking forward to going to Dallas and reporting back what happens. I
There you
can't
go.
wait to be in Jerry's
Hey,
world to report back to you boys what happened.
Hey,
Doc,
Doc.
No, go on, Boo. Go on.
I was just saying, hey, throw out crunch time a couple times down there in Dallas, Doc, for the people. Let the people in Dallas know about the fellas.
Yeah,
No doubt. You guys are growing. You're hiring. I think they're going to probably tell the boys. It'll be like, aren't you the guy that does the Crunch Time show? They're going to be, who are you? Aren't you the guy that does the Crunch Time show? I'll be like, yeah, those are the guys. Those are the fellas. I'll be sure. Like I said, big things are happening for you guys in your show. I love the fact that you're expanding. And why not? I mean, start rating. Why not? Just keep rating, baby. Why not?
Hey, Doc. People ask us. We say, yeah, John Maakaron joins our show. We're lucky enough to get the Doc every damn week. And I learned something new about you every week, Doc. I checked off my list. Doc, not a meat rider. Checked it off.
Not a meat.
That's
Listen,
good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah, that was a lovely stretch of days to talk about that. Listen. The issues the players have with me is not my professionalism. It's my opinion of their play, and that's the way it'll always be. And that's the way it's going to be. And honestly, humbly, I'll say this: if all the players like you, if all the coaches like you, if all the administration likes you, you aren't doing your job right. Something's wrong. You have to write critical things. You have to write things that they don't want. That's the job. And I commit to that fully. And I understand that puts you in rough spots. But if I was universally loved and they dab me up and they hug me when I'm there, I would not feel like I was doing the job. You got to write things sometimes that you don't like, that they don't like. And that's the job. And look, it's respectful, though. I truly believe it's a mutually respectful thing. They know what I'm about. They know that I'm fair and balanced, but critical when you need to be in the fairest way possible. And sometimes you have to ask questions that are questions in a manner that maybe someone is not going to like, but never personal. It's just always about ball. Can you help this Lions team win? If you can't, just like a general manager, baby, just like Woody Johnson, you got to cut Robert Saleh. You got to cut him out of the list. If you're not a player that can help this team win, you got to let him go. That's the way it is.
100%, Doc.
100%.
Hey, well, next Wednesday, we'll get you back on. Good luck this weekend out in Dallas. Doing your thing. Hey, stay away from the strip clubs, Doc. Dallas, they got.
I mean, whoa, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Where did that come from?
I know, Doc. He's a dog. I know.
What? The man went to New York and it was good in New York, man. Dallas is gonna be great.
No, you have a blast, Doc. We appreciate you as always. You're a legend.
I will, fellas. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
there you
having
go.
us, Doc.
John Maakaron, the man, the myth, the legend. Also, it is always brought to you guys by BetUS. So shout out to them as always.
What a legend! What a legend!
Yeah, hey, you know how the Doc is. I mean, he's trying to get.
How did a score prediction turn into a meat rider conversation, bro? That was so wild. Love the Doc. Love the Doc.
Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, FisherCTSports.com.